I think the biggest disconnect is a fairly common one in any market is what none of us have a crystal ball. So we just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. Basically, 2 to 3 weeks ago, rates dropped below 6%. They were in the very high fives. Well, since then, rates have jumped back up to 6.5%. So we don't know. We can't anticipate really what rates are going to do. Everybody, when it got to 6%, they said, "Well, we'll wait till 5.5%. We think at 5.5% we'll do it." Well, who knows when that might happen? So the situation is, why does the seller have to move? Is it something that they don't have a choice over, a job transfer, something along those lines, or are they just thinking about moving to move up, move down, scale down? What's their motivation for selling? That's a key question. Oh, unless it's a severe situation, maybe like a 2008, 2009 crash, there's really no reason to wait. The thing is that if you sell your house in this market, you're going to be buying another house in this market. So whatever you gain or lose in the sale of your house, you're probably going to gain or lose in the purchase of your next house. Because of the market, because of the interest rates, if prices are down 5%, well, they're down 5% pretty much across the board. So if you make 5% less on the house you're selling and you're buying a house that's more expensive and you get that for 5% less, you've actually made money. Okay, so it really does not pay to wait. If you're moving to another market, let's say you're moving to Austin, Texas, or you're moving to, say, Nashville, Tennessee, or just about anywhere in Florida, you're going to do better selling your house here and then buying a house there because their market is suffering a whole lot more than our market. So that's another factor to take into account is where you're moving to and what the market's doing there. We've had numerous lawsuits where a flipper basically hid something like mold, and it was found out after the fact based on health issues that arose, and there was lawsuits as a result of that. So you definitely want to get a very, very, very good home inspector that is very detailed, that will go through everything in the house. You want to make sure that you get a seller's property disclosure statement. A lot of sellers will shortcut that, where they won't issue a seller's property disclosure statement because they say, well, we never lived in the house, we don't know that much about it. Well, if they've owned the house, they know a lot about it. They've done fix-up, they've done repairs. If they've rented the house out, they know very well what the condition of the property is. So always get a seller's property disclosure statement from the seller. A lot of times, if they haven't disclosed something on that and it comes up in the after the fact, you've got it in writing that they didn't disclose it. We've had situations where we had a structural issue with a house. The seller did not disclose it on the seller's property disclosure statement. A buyer moved in, they got an inspection. The structural issue did not show up on the inspection, but it showed up about 6 months after they moved in. And they called a contractor to fix it, and it just so happened that the contractor was the same contractor that the previous seller had gotten out to get an estimate on fixing it, and then just decided not to fix it and sell the house anyway. So luckily for that buyer, they called the same contractor, and the seller had to end up fixing it. The exterior of the house has to be very presentable. One of the biggest things for return on investment it's really amazing, is a new garage door. A new garage door has been shown to be the biggest return on investment that a seller can get in doing improvements to a house to get it on the market. The other big one is the front door. When you walk up to the front door, is it nice? Is it neat? Is it clean? Is it new? So a new front door, or at least a painted front door, is a big thing. The things like the gutters, make sure the gutters are in good shape, not hanging down. Power washing the house or painting the house is a very positive thing to do. So buying a house is an emotional thing. People buy on emotion and then they justify with logic after the fact. But the initial thing is they buy on emotion. So you have to create that emotional atmosphere where they can picture themselves wanting to live in the house. And the curb appeal does that right up front. Going into the house, it's got to be neat. It's got to be clean. It can't be cluttered. You have to take down a lot of the family pictures, make it more like a neutral place for them to be in. Put very little on kitchen counters so that you look like you have a lot of space on kitchen counters. Same with the bathroom countertop. I think the biggest disconnect is a fairly common one in any market is what sellers want for their home and what the market will bear for their home, pricing issues. And I'll use Tucson as the example because that's where we're at. In Tucson, we're in a very, what I would call stable, static market. The last 2 years in Tucson, there's been actually slight price depreciation. So year over year, we're down about 4.5% in sales from February of last year to February of this year. We're down in median price about the same amount, about 4%. The days on market are up. We're up about 12 days on market over last year. Listings are down about 10%. So the market right now is in a state of, I guess what we would call staleness. We're not in a buyer's market particularly, but we're definitely not in a seller's market either. We're kind of leaning more towards the buyer's market. So that's kind of a disconnect with sellers. I think a lot of them are still relating to the period of time right after COVID where inventory was very low, interest rates were at 3% or less. They could put their house on the market for virtually whatever they wanted, and they would have multiple offers over full price in a day or two. Even though we are saving people thousands of dollars in commissions by charging a set fee, for example, on a $400,000 house, the typical realtor will charge $12,000 on the listing side to list the house. Well, our fee is $59.50. And just because you're saving a little over $6,000 does not mean you're giving up any service. We give the same service, at least as good marketing, in a lot of cases, better marketing. We definitely have as much, if not more, experience in the real estate transaction than anybody else is going to have. So you're not giving up anything in the way of service to save money. It's just more of what we think logical way to charge people as opposed to a percentage commission.